Now that this is completely dry, it is time for us to move on to some outlining. Believe it or not, you're getting very close to being done with this project. Now, before we do any outlining, you need to check this and make sure that it is indeed dry. I'm going to show you how to check this with a sheet of paper. If you painted this on a different day, and this has been on the drying rack and you found this in your folder today, then obviously it is completely and totally dry. You do not need to check it. But if you just got done using the hair dryer to dry this, here's what I want you to do to make sure that it is dry.
You will need to find a sheet of white paper, place it over the top of your painting, and holding it still, just rub the back of that white paper all over the area that is painted. Peel it up, and if there are wet spots, they'll show up on the white paper, and you can find on your painting the areas that you need to go back to the hairdryer and dry.
Once you have determined that this is completely dry, there's only one thing that you will need: a big, fat, permanent marker. Go to the bin, get a big, fat marker, and I'll show you what to do. First, let's remember who it is that we've been learning about and remember a little bit about his style. Remember, the artist's name that we've been learning about is Keith Haring. He was a graffiti artist. And since graffiti artists don't have much time to make their art, because they want to get in there and get their art made and get out of there before they get caught, Keith Haring's style is very simple and very bold. There is not a lot of details. Like the people in this picture have no faces. You can even see if they have waistband or pocket, because Keith Haring didn't stand around adding details. He was ready to make his statement and get out of there. There are a few things that I need you to remember about Keith Haring's style so you can do them on your artwork. One thing that Keith Haring always included was bold black outlines. Also, he included very few details. Take a look at these two pictures, and you can see everything is outlined with a thick black line, and there are hardly any details. There are no faces, there are no shoes, there's no fur on that dog, very few details. Another thing that I need you to remember is that Keith Haring showed his figures in action by drawing many action lines. Take a look at these artworks, and you can see those little short black marks almost everywhere. Now, the short black marks can be sticking away from the body, like here and here, or the black marks might be in line with the body, like here and here, kind of curved going alongside the body part. Either way is fine, it just shows different types of actions. And sometimes Keith Haring would use very simple patterns on a part of the picture. In these four pictures, if you look below the horizon line, you can see a pattern of dots or dashes. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, because when he made his art, he did not have time to include fancy, complicated patterns. But he did show patterns every once in a while to show a different surface area. For example, the water or the floor. Now that this picture is completely dry, we are ready to start adding some of those things that will really make our picture look like it's in the style of Keith Haring. We're going to begin with a big, bold, black outline. And for this, you should already have this giant marker. Not all of the markers are the same, but you need to pick a fat marker out of the fat marker bin. And very simply, you are going to just outline. Now this makes a very wide mark. So as you're tracing, you should be able to cover the line where the paint color changes with a little bit of black on one inside the body and a little bit of black outside the body. See how that black line covers equally the edge of the body and the edge of the background. You're going to want to use the longer edge of that tip so that you get that nice fat line all the way around. You will have to rotate your paper quite a bit to do this. Once the body is completely outlined, you must also outline the horizon line. And when that's finished, we're ready to move on to adding our simple pattern on the ground. I looked around at a lot of Keith Haring artworks, and I couldn't find any that had anything except a pattern of dots on the ground. So, pattern of dots and dashes it is.
When you make your dots and dashes, make sure that they are all going the same direction. Make sure that they are all very similar in size, and make sure that they are kind of random. You don't want them to line up perfectly next to each other. You want them to be random dashes that are going the same way and are all approximately the same size.
And finally, my action lines. Now I want to think about the motion that my body is making, and I'm going to find the places that are probably making the motions. And I'm going to decide if I need short lines or longer lines, curved lines, or lines that are poking out from the body. This is up to you. You may plan this out on another paper, maybe turn your paper over and practice some of the different action lines before you make the marks on the front. Obviously, you can't erase this marker, so once you make the marks, you're stuck with them. There we have it. I have a guy who looks like he is jiving down the road. When you have made it this far in your project, congratulations, you are done.